A Giants podcast for Giants fans
By Giants fans.
from the offseason through the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome inside One Giant Step. One Giant Sunday with two more Sundays in a row now without Giant football. I think that's the best positive way I could look at it. That's my positive spin for you Giants fans after a 34-27 loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions. So this is going to be kind of a fascinating recap pod in a couple ways because it's another devastating. This team stinks. They blew a lead in the fourth quarter. They invent a way to lose in overtime. I guess controversial decision by Mike Kafka that's now being called out by Malik Neighbors. I don't know where Bryce stands on it. I know where I stood in real time. All of the trimmings. But let me just start here, Bryce. I am Shaun Morash. He's Bryce Gelman. Again, thank you for all of our loyal listeners, patrons, as you will, for joining us on One Giant Step. Bryce, when we did the preview pod and we had Mike Valenti ranting and raving, he expected out of Detroit. We pretty much expected here that the Lions were going to go score a ton of points on the New York Football Giants because our defense stinks. We expected at the time of the preview podcast, Jackson Dart to play in this game. And even with him playing in this game, Giants will score some points in this game. But ultimately, the Lions are going to be so overwhelming where they're still going to cover a spread. Or, be that as it may. In the end, you get a overtime game determined by a touchdown where things didn't go their way. So, Bryce, I guess I say that to say, we'll tie in all the bad, but there's got to be some good here from you, man. Like, I know there's some good for me. I know the whole podcast isn't going to be good, but they did just go hang with the Lions. Is there a moral victory?
The Giants, they showed up in this game.
They did.
That's all you can ask for them. And, of course, they shot themselves in the foot like they always do. They showed up in the game. They played solidly. They played solidly on both ends of the football. The Giants got everything they wanted and then some out of Jameis Winston. I know you made a video. You hate Jameis Winston. I feel like you never give him the benefit of the doubt. That's something we'll get to. I'm not trying to confront you about that right now. The Giants played well, and Jameis last week, he threw 4 or 5 interceptable balls. Shaun, there was only one this week. One. And it happened to get picked off. Jameis Winston played a flawless game of football besides one bad throw. And the Giants should have won that game. Should have won the game. Listen, Jameis, I'm talking about for Jameis. I'm not talking about like a solid NFL quarterback. It was a flawless game for Jameis. You know what I mean? Like what we expect out of
that's
Jameis.
kind of my point. You know what?
Yeah, listen, it was
rip the Band-Aid,
it
get
was
off
the
to it.
game. Fine. Give me your thoughts on this because I'm interested. I know exactly what you're going to say, but I want to hear.
All right. So I'll get to the positives like in a second because I do think there were some and we could talk about, namely Darius Alexander and company. Look, the Giants had a lead, blew a lead, lost the game in overtime where it took one play where Dexter Lawrence is not on the field. And I know he was quote unquote nicked up. Like if I'm categorizing why the Giants lost this game, the defense gave up 34 points and they gave it all up right away in overtime. And I don't think Dexter Lawrence toughened it out a bunch. I have a major issue with him, but overall not having Deonte Banks on the field, perhaps this is my own lowering of the bar. The fact that the Lions did not score 40 points in this game and did score 34 points at home for this defense that I thought didn't do a good enough job clearly in the fourth quarter and overtime. I'm still putting this game on them first and foremost. But
yeah, I mean, I'm saying, sorry to cut in here. It took a 59-yard field goal for them to score 34 points. It was 24 points until they made that insane field goal. Like they played solidly, right?
So, exactly my point. Okay. Yes. So the defense gave us a better effort than we thought we had. So this is a complimentary reason why the Giants lost this game, right? Like that part of it. We'll talk about the decision-making, all of this. But let's talk about where I think Jameis Winston killed the Giants today. Again, like the video I put out on Twitter was not meant to be like, oh my God, Jameis Winston is the reason the Giants lost, but more, he was part of the reason they lost. Yes, Jameis Winston had one of those games that everybody points to and talks about fun. This has been a common theme. I'm going to slam my hands here where I try to separate and explain to you guys why I don't view this as fun. The games that end in losses, and they all do, right? The Dart games, the Wilson games, I don't find that fun.
You can't tell me your disappointment at the end of the game outweighed your excitable nature of that game. Really?
Of course
That
it did.
entire game, all those crazy plays, I was losing my mind. They lost the game. It was like, all right, well,
it
there
made
you
me
go.
more disappointed. That's why it's not fun. It made me more angry.
I disagree on
go
that.
out there and lose the game 44-20 like I expect you to. You wrote me.
You'd rather them do that than put up a fight?
Yeah, no, look,
I can't.
I'm happy
I can't
to put up a fight.
that.
But here is where Jameis Winston steered the Giants wrong. And again, he's a backup quarterback. So I'm not mad at Jameis Winston, but I'm just explaining why people are out of their minds for thinking that he's some kind of great option for this team. You just said he played a flawless game except for one throw. Nonsense. That interception in the fourth quarter was brutal. Killed a drive that the Giants could have potentially had as we were trying to throw punches. But that wasn't just it. When you call that play on fourth down, that was controversial to some, whether they should kick a field goal or not. The one thing that cannot happen on that play when you are fighting for your life to try to end the game is to go get sacked. You know, you want to throw it, whatever. You got to try to, either way, you're dead in the water. Got to try to make a play there. Once you've decided to go for it. Jameis Winston's too veteran to do that. Okay, that's two. Then the other problem, after an overtime, when Jahmyr Gibbs gives it up, it's an inexcusable off-target throw to a wide-open Wan'Dale Robinson that perhaps could win the game. Those are three critical mistakes that cannot happen from a veteran quarterback. Now,
number two is on the play calling more than anything else. The fact that you're going to throw the ball on second down and then run it on third. How does that make any sense?
Well, I wasn't talking about second down. I was talking about fourth down. But you're right.
No, I get that. But
second down, I would have ran, and that's
in that spot from the 7-yard line. That's impossible.
All these Jameis Winston stands that coming out of here didn't hear what I had to say on this tweet video you're talking about. It was a complimentary loss. I said, fire Shane Bowen after the game. I've had it with the Jameis is so much fun. Yeah, okay, great. You had fun. Guess what? He still, in the end, despite those fun plays, made losing plays at the end of the game, which is why you lost the game. So, great. Thank you, Jameis. You kept us in it for 3 quarters. It was a complimentary loss. Jameis is not the number one reason they lost, but he is a big reason as to why they lost. I thought, as far as that, okay, that was my Jameis point. Here's where my Kafka stuff goes. I thought Mike Kafka, for the most part, and we'll get to your thoughts on this in a second, I thought he did what he had to do in a game like this, in terms of you are 2-9, you're facing elimination, you're in a game, let's be real, none of us expected you to truly be in. We thought eventually let go of the rope. He runs a flea flicker early. He runs that crazy play, which I love, where Jameis actually fights back for the football. Better receiver than Jalen Hyatt, right?
Yeah.
Runs that crazy play. Jameis goes touchdown. I was pumped up about that. And then, of course, the call that apparently, by the way, I've seen it happen now 3 times in the NFL today. Jaguars, they failed. Happened to the Dallas Cowboys. They failed and ended up coming back to win. Jaguars came back to win. Yeah. 3 teams today were faced with this decision to go up 6 or kick the 3. Giants, Cowboys, Jaguars. All 3 failed. All 3 fan bases were mad. 2 of them still won the game anyway. Of course, the one that didn't was the New York Football Giants. Yeah. So, Bryce, I know we're kind of chopping this up. I gave you my Jameis thoughts. Let me get to that call. You got to run the ball on second down. No doubt about it. That was the play that we screamed about in Denver that I didn't have an issue with at the time, but you learn from your mistakes as a team. Let 40 more seconds wind down. They did not do that. They end up going for it. So forget the second down because we could all agree it's BS. You got to run the ball. On fourth down, my initial instinct, I'm not going to second guess because I sat here with my dad. He disagreed. He wanted to kick the field goal. I did not. I said at that point, if you kick a field goal, we've all been there, done that. You know what the Lions are going to do. They're going to go down, score a touchdown, kick an extra point to beat you. I wanted to go up 10. Figure worst case, they kick the field goal, you go to overtime, which is what happened. Then you lost anyway. You can make the case they lose the game no matter if they don't score a touchdown there. I wanted to go for it. I didn't have an issue with Kafka not kicking the field goal. Where did you stand?
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the 7-yard line, you have to kick that field goal. What are the odds that you score from the 7-yard line with Jameis Winston as your quarterback? What are the odds? Those odds are not nearly in your favor.
You could argue you have more room to work with. A lot of offensive minds will tell you that.
I won't be able to forget that third down play call. Like the weak run to the I just don't understand that. And again, it all stems back to that second down call. Obviously, you need to run it there. First off, the run game was amazing all day. The offensive line was terrific, like they've been for since Andrew Thomas got back in this season. It felt like every single drive and every single first down started with the 4 or 5 yard run. And that sets you up perfectly for the play action. It sets you up perfectly to get the first down, which they did a multitude of times on all of these drives, Shaun. I just don't understand in that spot, going away from what works. And that wasn't just the reason why you do that, but to your credit, you said the Giants need to run some clock down. They throw it, incomplete pass, the clock stops. And of course, the Lions needed that time at the end of the game. If you take 40 seconds off, that changes the game and could potentially win the Giants the game. But doing that in that spot and then getting stuffed and getting sent to the 6 or 7 yard line, kick the ball, kick it. It makes no sense to go for that. It's like what happened for the Lions 2 years ago against the Cowboys in the game. They got screwed. Dan Skipper reported his eligible. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Campbell indignantly decided to go for 2 from like the 8 yard line at that point. It made no sense. I know it's a different situation, but the indignance there from Kafka is the same as what happened with Dan Campbell. Like sometimes you just got to take a step back and realize this is for the best for my team. And that was, and they lost the game because they didn't kick the field goal.
I want to look this up real quick because I mentioned this on the other podcast I do, and I want to get the game right. I think it was Giants-Cowboys, the opener in 2014, I think. Or it was a Giant-Falcon game. I want to get the game right. I promise by the end of the week I'll get I know this because I was at the game. There was a Sunday night opener versus Dallas where Dallas came down to beat the Giants in the final seconds. Jason Witten over Waniunga. There's a Monday night game versus the Falcons a few years ago. I think it was Evan Ingram's rookie year, whatever year that was. Either way, they were 2 Tom Coughlin coached teams. I think it was Coughlin, so I think it was the Dallas game. And the Giants elected in this scenario with like 40 seconds left to kick a field goal rather than go for the kill and to go up 6. And, of course, they got burned on the other end with a touchdown and extra point. I kept thinking about that in the moment, and I knew the Detroit offense, which is why I didn't have an issue in real time. Plus, Bryce, I understand what you're saying. You get knocked down to the 7. You're also 2-9. Let's just be real about this. You're 2-9.
100%. I get that.
You're 2-9, and as an interim head coach, you're just trying to make your mark, and you have all day with the aggressive and the trickery.
But it doesn't mean you make stupid decisions.
But I don't think it's stupid.
You know what, dude? It was. It's from the 7 yard line.
It's not stupid, though. It's not stupid. Because, Bryce, here's what happens. It's so easy to scream, and I know that you're passionate about this. If the Giants kick the field goal there, and Jahmyr Gibbs forget this, by the way, Detroit's calling the game differently if they go score the touchdown. So don't act like the offensive series was going to be the same offensive series. You're calling a game differently. And they go take off, and Gibbs takes off. We're all going to be going, really? You knew how bad this defense was, Kafka? Really? You get it that close, you're not going to try to punch it in the end zone? Really? We would be, who are we kidding that we wouldn't be screaming and yelling about that decision after we would talk about it?
This happened 2 weeks ago. With Sir Dave.
The day, yeah. Okay. Exactly. So
same thing happened.
Same thing happened, right?
So you've been through it. We've been through it.
And it's why it's a decision because it's very easy when a decision goes wrong to go, it was the wrong decision. Okay.
I get that because like that's still in the back of, all of our minds that just happened. And Brian Dibble got fired the next day. And partially because of that, and obviously, he wasn't doing his job well. And by that,
analytics, by the way, say 87% go. It was an 87% go play.
Idiotic.
Because you lose by 1. You know you're going to lose by 1. Okay. The other part of this was
game script. But that's like all like how the game is going at that point. It's
I agree with how the game was going. Bryce, did you think they were going to stop the Lions up 6, or did you think the Lions were going to dance to the end? So be honest.
I thought there was a better chance to win the game.
Stop.
If they went down,
you kick
the field goal. I'm never like this. I'm always go for it. I love going for it.
I love playing aggressively. What Giant defense have you watched all year? You thought in the Lions building with 2 minutes left.
Good in this game. They looked good at this game.
Bryce, they looked great in the Denver game.
Do you see how much talent? And also, if we're pointing at the Denver game, Deontay Banks was on the field 1, and 2, all the players were gassed because of the altitude. All right. So remove that from our memory. Well, Dexter Lawrence, of course, he probably was. Remove that from our memory.
They've been gassed in all these games.
The Giants looked good defensively against the Lions. They were getting pressure. Jared Goff made some terrible throws, some terrible plays. Darius Alexander, you mentioned 2 sacks. Terrific. Abdul Carter got to the quarterback a couple of times in that fourth quarter. I look at that situation. And again, it's like it's a game-by-game, situation-by-situation decision. You know what I mean? Like in some places it works, some places, in my opinion, it doesn't. And yeah, it would have sucked if the Giants kicked it and still lost the game. They lost the game anyway. So,
well,
we'll never know.
I think regardless, now look, I don't really give a crap that Mike Kafka's not going to get this job. To be honest, I want a complete house cleaning now that you got rid of Brian Dable anyway. But Malik Neighbors after the game tweeted and then deleted, just like Abdul Carter deleted tweets because the Giants get to these guys and go, take that down. You know what the media feasting it.
This was way worse.
Yeah. Here's the tweet. Here's the tweet from Malik Neighbors. Sometimes I think they be making us lose on purpose, ! Now, keyword, who's they, right? Because it's no way, bro. You throw the ball instead of running it to make them burn 2 timeouts. Then you don't kick the field goal. Then they have to go down and score. Football common sense, 4 ! Am I missing something? So to kind of decipher all this, Malik Neighbors couldn't believe the Giants didn't run the ball on 2nd down to make them burn timeouts or try to tick time away. And as a result, once they did not run the ball on 2nd down, then kick the field goal and go up 6. That's the argument, right? Like that. I didn't have a problem with them going for it, but since you screwed up 2nd down, should you just take the point? Like, that was what Bryce was alluding to earlier. So regardless, Malik Neighbors had an issue with this, which is so funny to me. And I love Malik. Malik Neighbors, bro, this is where these wide receivers, and again, he's ours and I love him. If Malik Neighbors was on the field today and that situation arose, he'd be the first one looking at that sideline, begging the Giants to go for it. You know, and I'm not saying Malik.
And you're more comfortable doing it if Malik Neighbors on the field.
Okay, and by the way, that's a fair rebuttal. But this is where I laugh because, again, this just tells you all you need to know. Malik Neighbors sees Brian Dable fired, is staring at Mike Kafka, who he hasn't gotten to play with his head coach, and going, what are we doing here? Guy can't be the head coach next year. Like, you want your star players to believe in something. Even though I disagree that Malik Neighbors doesn't understand that he would be screaming from the side, like it's easy for him to change. The point is, I know it sounds like a jumbled word salad. The point is, these players are telling you all you need to know. Mike Kafka can't be the head coach. I thought that tweet was very funny. Why? And also, deleting it is so embarrassing. And I don't think Malik Neighbors is deleting this on his own. I think the Giants are like, got their PR, Malik, you got to take this down. Which is just shows like how shoddy.
What was he thinking though? Like that doesn't. Even like the Giants obviously, had a point and they had a reason to be like, hey, take it down. Like that's stupid. You don't do that. If you want to make a scene, you don't make it on Twitter.
Well, they just don't want more controversy. But they create their own controversy.
Setting that. Did he mean to put that on his burner?
No, I think
he realized
because he tweeted up a storm after the Denver game, and people had to remember it. Just look at who Malik Neighbors is. Okay, now let's get to the juicy stuff. All right, we debated Jameis. We debated the Kafka call. Let's talk Dexter Lawrence. Let's talk quite literally the elephant in the room. Dexter Lawrence, by all accounts, was nicked up on an injury in the first quarter, which made a lot of sense because you didn't really see him a lot from the second quarter on. He had said in a paraphrasing postgame that the plan after he got nicked up in the first quarter was try to preserve as many snaps specifically for 3rd downs. Okay. I can get behind that. No, again, not knowing the nature of the injury, not knowing anything. Here's the problem. Dexter Lawrence is not out there for the 1st down play in overtime where clearly Jahmyr Gibbs takes off. There's a couple things at play, and then Bryce will let you tee off on your response. I know Carl Banks was upset and disgusted with this. Here's my lean. Knowing all the facts as they have been given to us, I too am disgusted with Dexter Lawrence. I love Dexy. I think he's been a really good Giant. I think Dexter Lawrence is completely allowed in this offseason if he looks at how much coach turnover he's gone through and how much losing for him to turn to the Giants. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm giving you like a side of Dex and going, I'd prefer not to be around to see if this next coach works or not. I want to trade. If Dexter Lawrence did that, I know there'll be a lot of vitriol and I know people will be angry at him. I would not blame him one bit. Okay. That's how much I respect him as a Giant. I think I'm disgusted by him with this, though. I know that football has changed. I know that athletes have changed. Bryce, man, when I was growing up, you'd see guys in full-blown casts going out there playing with broken bones. You wouldn't even hear of certain muscle issues, tissue issues. And I know that we're treating the players with kid gloves. I get that I sound like the old man on my couch. And this is where Carl Banks gets angry. Football, even above hockey, was the tough man sport. It was just the tough man sport. You left it all. You did what you did. You didn't even hear a peep. It's not that way anymore. But I do think certain guys can still be that way. Like Cam Scadaboo was ready to stand up with his ankle pointing the sideways. Cam Scadaboo, if he was nicked up in the first quarter, is finding a way out there. Dexter Lawrence, and we've talked about whether it's his contract not being happy with it, whatever. You manage the whole game like that. It is now overtime where you are a team captain on a team that has lost and lost again with blown fourth quarter leads. When you enter overtime, knowing you've already blown a fourth quarter lead, the game is not over. You have a chance to win that football game. I would like to see my captain, who is nicked up, say to hell with this. I need to be out there because I know we struggle to stop the run anyway when I'm out there, especially when I'm out. And he chose not to be. And I don't want to hear that the Giants told him, no, you can't go out there. Nonsense.
Yeah,
you're a team captain. You're a guy who's been around that long. You want to get on the field, you get on the field. I thought he let his teammates down. Even if the teammates themselves disagree because they're afraid of stepping on Dexter Lawrence's toes, Dexter Lawrence definitively, for me, let his teammates down today. It's not to say that Jahmyr Gibbs wouldn't have teed off anyway if he was in the game, because God knows the Giants have sucked versus the run with him. But man, oh man, when you're a team captain stud like that and you're quote-unquote nicked up and you have extra time before this Monday night game and then it's a bye and you're in overtime trying to get a huge upset with an interim coach playing for his life and all these guys who are also playing through some – tell me Burns ain't banged up? Wandell, I saw him pull his groin. You don't think he was banged up? You let your teammates down. And I could rail about Jameis. I could rail about Kafka. I could rail about the defense. Dexter Lawrence didn't do all he could to have the Giants win a football game today, and that disgusts me, Bryce.
I wasn't surprised when I saw this unfold in the slightest, Shaun. This has been Dexter Lawrence's MO the past few years. I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. But I see both sides of the coin. I see the idea that Dexter Lawrence gave up on his team, but then I also see the fact that this team has given up on him. They haven't done enough to build around him. And of course, it has manifested itself in this diva-like mentality from Dexter Lawrence, where he's not trying his hardest. He's getting impacted by small little nicks, like whatever he got injured with. I don't know. We don't know. He'll probably be questionable, and then he'll play next week. I do understand both sides of this, Shaun. I do. But Dexter Lawrence, at the end of the day, you are a captain. If you want to get out of the situation, then get out of it. If you don't want to play hard for this team, then get the hell out. We don't need storied losers like that on this team. And I get it. It's not his fault this team sucks. It's not his fault that all this dysfunction is still happening with the Giants. And I feel bad for him, Shaun. Like, there's a part of me that feels terrible for him. With how good he is, it reminds me of Myles Garrett, right? Like, Myles Garrett is dominant. He might be the most dominant player in football, been on an incompetent organization his entire career, right? Like the one playoff appearance with the Giants, the one playoff appearance as well with Dexter Lawrence. It's a very similar situation. Myles Garrett was going to ask out, and then he got paid, and he sold his soul. Dexter Lawrence might be a similar situation here. He's going to get paid, right? He's going to get what he wants. Do the Giants want to give him that money, though? This isn't a situation like we need to bring you back. If the Giants can get 2 or 3 first-round picks, why the hell should they send him to whatever team is going to call, right? Why shouldn't they send him away? But at the same time, there has to be a part of you that feels bad about him, for him. Like, there has to be a part of you that
there is. Like, you can do two things.
There has to be a part of you that sees where he's coming from. You don't have to agree with him, and both of us don't agree with him. But I do
understand. You can see both sides of the coin.
3 straight years of garbage football and incompetence from the organization. It's clearly reached a boiling point, right?
Bryce, I'm tired of watching guys succeed elsewhere and just feeling like, and again, I was fine with Saquon leaving. McKinney, I was fine with too, but there does get to be a reputation. Jones is doing a good job in Indy, although they lost today, didn't play that great. I could see Dexter Lawrence looking at all those guys and go, maybe I'd be better off elsewhere. And I can understand that, man. And I might even get to a point in 6 weeks where I go, man, look what the Cowboys ended up giving up for Quinnen Williams. Maybe that'd be the right. I could suck against the run and suck on defense with you. I could suck against the run, suck on defense without you. I probably could get to that point about trading Dexter Lawrence. But just on a very micro level, this was a huge letdown. Like, all the eyeballs that have been on him, I'm fun. Like, again, second, third, the game got to overtime, and this has been the team's MO.
You got to be in that game.
You
got to be in that game. It's overtime. You got to have there.
Bryce, you got to have – Tiki talks about this all the time. I'm never a Tiki. The 1-2, okay? And there's no stat that Pro Football Focus is going to give you on this. No Seth Wolder analytics page is going to give you this. The 1-2. I think Dexter Lawrence has had the 1-2 in the past. Maybe you lose it after so many losing you, right? Like, it erodes from you. I think Jackson Dart has a 1-2. I think Jameis Winston, for all his flaws, has a 1-2. I think he wants to go out there and win a football game. I think Wandell Robinson, as much as, maybe, he'll be overpaid in the offseason, I think he has a 1-2.
Yeah.
I think Cam Scadaboo has a 1-2. Brian Burns has a 1-2. Dexter Lawrence today showed he doesn't have that 1-2 anymore. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
He just doesn't.
We haven't seen that in a while from him. It's been
Yeah.
it's been a long time since we've seen it. I mean, last year he was dominant over the first 10, 11 weeks of the season. But the same thing that happened this year happened the last year too, and the year before that. This has become the norm for Dexter Lawrence, where he gives up on seasons and isn't the same player. And that's, Shaun, inexcusable to me. It should be inexcusable to everyone listening to this. But again, at the same time, like you can understand. Like the team.
Well, no, again,
I
understand that Dexter Lawrence should be frustrated, all of this. But this isn't like an either or. You can see that, but also be disgusted by him and what he chose to do today. Yeah. And again, I don't want to hear on Monday or Tuesday when the team does their inevitable freaking plot twist and you wait for it. No, that was our decision to hold Dexter Lawrence out. No, it's going to be the overwhelming protect the player. BS. If you're the player and you're the captain, go fight for your way out there.
Can I ask you something? If we're going to end on this, let's end on this.
Okay.
I remember the Broncos game. We came on here. Giants gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter. I was infuriated. I think a lot of the fans out there echoed my sentiments. Frustrated, dejected, all those types of adjectives that you could throw out there. And you came on here.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't too upset. You weren't very upset because you saw. I get that, but like at the same time, you were the one preaching. I can't even describe it. You were preaching patience of like, all right, yeah, that was a bad loss, but we have Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart played well. I just want to know, and I'm asking you straight up, like, what has changed from that Broncos game to now?
Well, what do you mean?
You're so frustrated and upset. You came on here pissed, angry, infuriated. Why did you care that much about this loss and this, blowing of a game as a collapse as compared to the Broncos game?
Okay, so you got to remember what I cared about in the Bronco game. Of course, I cared that they collapsed and lost. I am, maybe to a fault, I am very big on don't just overly react to the after. Think about where you were in the before. And where I was in the before leading up to that Bronco game was the Giants had beaten the Eagles. And the Broncos, we had spent a week of the stupid social media back and forth. And so many people out there, including those in Denver, going, Jackson Dart, he's a rookie quarterback. They're going to Denver. What do you mean they have no shot in the game? And Jackson Dart, to this day, played the best game versus that Bronco defense a quarterback has played all year. And that was when I walked away from that going, I understand they blew the lead, but big picture, we were fresh off the Eagle win. Big picture was, you don't realize we have a quarterback. And what has changed, Bryce? Here's what's changed. What I said that day is truer than ever. What I said that day is truer than ever, because think about where we are as this season continues to crescendo out of bounds. Why is the Giants' job, according to guys like Ian Rappaport, going to be the most coveted in the offseason? Why are people looking at this going, man, this season sucks, but at least the Giants don't do this? Why is nobody talking about the Giants picking first overall and taking Fernando Mendoza? Why? Because what we found out in that Denver game, we already knew the defense could fall apart. What we found out that day for sure was that the Giants had a franchise quarterback. And that was the point I was trying to hammer home. What's happened since they lost that Bear game, Jameis got hurt, but Dart got hurt. The defense still collapsed. Jameis did all he could. Made his mistakes, but the defense still collapsed. I'm more frustrated now and infuriated because I got an answer on something about the quarterback. What I'm still not getting an answer on is why is nothing changing and the same thing keep allowing to be happening on defense, which would be firing Shane Bowen, whatever the hell you want to do, benching certain guys or whatever.
That makes sense. I just
wanted
to
clear
that up. Yeah. Because I was going to say, because that loss hurt because they won against the Eagles the week before. They should have won against the best defense in the league.
You know what the problem is, Bryce? Bryce, the problem with that reaction pod in that game that day, and this is where I was different than everybody else. Even after the Eagle game, I never thought the 2025 Giants were a playoff team. I never did. So when they had the lead versus the Broncos, I walked away from that going, all right, that was terrible. They lost the game. Others walked away going, oh my God, the season's over. I had already come to grips with that before the Eagle game. So to me, it was more about.
Yeah, but there's no way during that. I know we're, this is a month.
I know, but yes, to clear up.
There's no way during the Broncos game you weren't like,
you always go.
You had to have been.
Yeah, you go, but you still realize that the inevitability of what's ahead of them. What changed that day was you got definitive proof. Holy crap, this guy's for real, like the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that's still the same, which is why I'm excited to see him again. But That's where we're at. And look, it's just another crappy loss. Hey, I give the Giants this. I didn't have fun because they lost, but we got more to react to than we thought we were going to get. So, and that's where you get a half an hour one Giants.
There's some fun plays in that game. Like, that was an enjoyable loss, in the sense that, the end obviously outweighed whatever positive, but it was fun in the moment, right?
We're going to do a preview pod. We're going to look ahead to the Patriot game. I don't know what's going to happen in the coming days. Shane Bowen get fired? Probably not. They probably wait till the bye week to do that. But it's going to be an interesting week again in Giant Land. We'll see what the next steps are for Jackson Dart. And, we'll regroup as we always do. And the Giants will go up to New England and we'll renew that Giant Patriot rivalry for the first edition of Drake May and Jackson Dart. And that's where we will go. Hopefully for Dart. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter and X, at Shaun Morash on Twitter and X. Thank you, everybody, for taking one giant step with us.